Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this, the fourth Brexit webinar that we've hosted, and the first one in the new year after we've left the single market and the customs union. Today, I'm going to be looking at the problems we've encountered along with our customers and the solutions we've put in place to ease those Brexit pains. The webinar is going to last about 45 to 50 minutes. It's being recorded and you'll get slides sent to you probably Wednesday/Thursday. Opportunity to ask questions during the webinar, just go to the bottom of the screen in the Q&A. Quite a few new people on the webinar today, of the 100 people that are on live. If you don't know who we are, who I am, my name is Tony Shally. I'm the Managing Director of Espace Europe here and head of all things Brexit. Espace is a forwarding business based in Lichfield, Staffordshire. We're employee owned, got 32 staff, and we predominantly specialise in European road freight. But we have a thriving UK and sea and air freight department too. So if we can be of any help, please just get in contact. Okay, I'll just share the slide deck. Okay. Content. From the beginning. Okay, I'm just going to lose my video stream for the sake of bandwidth. Okay, so 6 weeks in, the problems and the solutions. And joining me in the webinar today is Jeff Yates, our commercial manager, who is heading up the commercial development of our Customs Consortium. Okay, contents, what we're going to be looking at today, going to be focusing predominantly on T1 problems and T1 solutions, but we're going to be covering all these topics. And if you hang around another 40 odd minutes, we'll be offering you a special bonus at the end. So it is definitely worth hanging around for that. A few questions we've had over the last 6 weeks. I only have a sales invoice, is that okay? Unfortunately, it isn't. Can't make a customs declaration on a sales invoice. We need all the details, the commodity code, CPC codes, weights, packages. They don't always appear on a sales invoice. Does a copy of the invoice need to travel with the goods? Not necessarily, but if you're sending T1 goods, dedicated vehicles, it's advisable to make sure that the driver has a copy of the invoice in case customs want to see those goods once he registers for the T1 document. Packing list, yes, ideally we do need the packing list. If there's something missing on the invoice, then we can go to the packing list and get that information for the export declaration. Do you need a summary for each HS code on the invoice? Yes, we do. We've been sent invoices with 50, 60 pages of an invoice with HS codes multiple times on there. We just need a summary at the end of each HS code with their net weight, gross weight, number of pieces and value. If I have to send 2 loads, can I just send 1 invoice? No, unfortunately, it's 1 load, 1 invoice. Cannot make a customs declaration for 2 loads on 1 invoice. CPC had that a few times. Customs procedural code, that's you telling customs how you want your goods handled. If they're a permanent export, the code will be 10. If it's a permanent import, it'll be 40. If you're sending goods to the EU that are going to get processed and sent back, it's something different, 22, 23, I think. If you're sending the goods to the EU on loan and they're not being modified, then it's a different CPC code. So it's important you know what CPC codes. Have a look at the exporters webinar I did on our Brexit webpage. Explain CPC codes. Information we need to make declarations for you. There we are. I'm not going to run through them. They're all pretty self-explanatory. Just look at T1 documents. That's everything we need. So if obviously we're handling the freight for you, we will know the nationality of the vehicle, the haulier contact details, the country it's going to be passing through. But if we're not handling the freight and we're doing a standalone T1, we're going to need all those details. T1 problems, where do we start? We'll start with a photograph. That's a photograph of the customs of the Ashford International Freight Terminal in Ashford, 20 miles north just of Dover, where drivers are being sent predominantly to start transits, to start the T1 process. I estimate there's a queue of about 60 drivers there, and I don't know whether that's the back of the queue. That was the queue on the 2nd or 3rd week in January. So in all likelihood, that situation has got worse. These are some of the problems we've been experiencing. with the issuing of T1s. Delays, as you can see, both at government and private transit offices. The system that transit is run on, NCTS, was due a upgrade, new software a couple of years ago, where that hasn't happened. Long delays getting transit applications through. Lots of information is needed. Sometimes we get the wrong information from the exporter and there's missing information. Exporters don't know what an office of destination is. That's the closing point for the T1 document. It should be the importer in the EU that's designating that. Where do they want the transit closing and the customs clearance to happen? Massive misunderstanding on whether T1s are needed for France. They're not. It's optional for France. If you want to clear inland for whatever reason, then yes, you can use a T1, but you do not need to use a T1 to ship a full or a dedicated express load to France. You clear those goods on the ferry with a pre-lodged French import declaration. Other customers in Italy, importers saying, you don't need to issue a T1. An Italian import declaration is enough to get you out of the UK. It isn't. Unfortunately, you need a T1 if you're transiting France to go to Italy. And onward shipments from the EU to third countries. For example, we had a load from London to Barcelona to collect in the first week of January. It actually was going on to Egypt. The commercial invoice we had was from a Swiss exporter going to an Egyptian importer. It took us 3 days to get that T1 issued because the information was not there, and 1,200 euros of demurrage costs. Other problems with T1s, just not enough people doing them, not enough people with large enough guarantees, and very little appetite to take risks, particularly on standalone T forms where you're not handling the freight. Won't look too much detail. That's a little bit about what Union Transit is. That's the customs procedure under which T1s are issued. Have a read of that. Tells you everything you need to know, but basically you need a T1 if you're entering the EU at the point of entry. You need to pay Import V80. If you're an Italian importer, you need a way of paying that Import V80. If you haven't got a way to pay it at the point of entry in Calais or Rotterdam or Bruges or Zeebrugge, then a T1 has to be issued to suspend that V80 as the goods transit to the office of destination in your country. Just a little graphic just to explain T1 as simply as I can. So you can see there, as I said before, from the UK to France, a T1 is optional. If you want to clear inland for whatever reason, maybe because you want to bring the goods into a customs warehouse, you want to suspend the VAT and duty, they're excise goods, you want to perhaps bring them inland, that's fine, you can do that with a T1. But if the standard goods, you don't want to bring them into a customs warehouse, why would you issue a T1? You can get issued a French import declaration to get the goods into France. You do not need a T1. If you're going to Germany, however, you do need a T1 if you're crossing through France. If you're coming from Germany back through France into the UK, you do not need a T1. If you're going from France via the UK land bridge into Ireland, you need a T2. If you're going from Ireland to the UK or UK to Ireland, you don't need a T4. And finally, if you're going from France to Ireland on the ferry direct, not touching the UK, or Ireland to France, you don't need a T form. So we have a problem with T forms, but we also have a solution. And this solution allows UK exporters to deliver their full load or express shipments to their EU customers on DDP terms, avoiding T1s completely. And it's a really clever solution, and it's definitely worth further investigation. So as I said before, EU import V80 is payable at the first point of entry into the EU. This tends to be France, Belgium, or Holland. So there's two different solutions available to you to get around T forms. One is particularly if you're going to France and Belgium first, and the other one is if you're going to Holland first. You can use VAT registration in France and Belgium to get around T forms, and likewise, you can use VAT registration in Holland, but you will need a fiscal representative in Holland. I will talk a little bit about that on the next couple of slides. So, quickly looking at the solution with French, but it's the same for Belgian VAT registration. So, UK exporter, We'll get a non-resident French VAT number and EU EORI number. They sell the goods effectively to their French VAT number, but no money is transacted. Transfer the goods effectively. Their French VAT number becomes the importer of record in France. So goods going to the EU will not require a T form, as the VAT will be able to be paid at the point of entry on a deferred basis in France. All you need to do to exit the UK is to get a French import declaration raised. The driver just scans that barcode in Dover or at the Eurotunnel, and his goods will clear customs on the ferry or the Eurotunnel. He'll get green lighted as he exits Calais, and he's off to deliver. His goods are in free circulation, and he can go to anywhere he likes in the EU with no more further customs stops. The UK exporter basically invoices the EU customer from their French VAT number. That's effectively a EU to EU sale, so there is no VAT on that sale using the reverse charge. EU customers continue to pay the UK provider straight to their UK bank account. You don't need a French bank account. You don't need a French company setting up. UK exporter then appoints a company to handle their monthly, quarterly VAT returns and Intrastat returns, and no fiscal representation is needed in France. You just need a VAT registration number and a system and a solution, an online solution to make the VAT returns and the Intrastat returns. So this is what it was like pre-Brexit then. Very simple. GB exporter sent full load or dedicated express load Dover Calais to an Italian importer, no customs. Now, post-Brexit, GB exporter needs to get somebody to raise a T1 and provide a guarantee for the VAT and duty. Driver then has to go and collect that T1 at a customs office in the UK, which will be the office of departure for that T1. The driver will have to wait 30 to 60 minutes, even when he's at the office, to wait to see if customs want to inspect his load. If the TAD document is issued to him successfully, a T1 is issued successfully, he then needs to navigate his way through Dover and Calais, which is easier said than done, because some of the drivers are presenting the wrong documents. Some of the check-in people at the tunnel and the ferry companies are scanning the wrong documents, and drivers are getting blocked in Calais. If they can get out of Calais, then they need to head towards the Italian customs office, the office of destination, to get the T form discharged. From there, sometimes they'll again need to go to a customs clearance agent for the VAT and duty to be allocated. And then finally, they can go to the Italian importer. With a French VAT number, or Belgian VAT number, or Dutch VAT number, it's really simple. You effectively raise a French import declaration if you're entering in France, the EU. The goods clear on the ferry, Dover to Calais. Driver's green lighted in Calais as he gets off the ferry. Goods have cleared. VAT has been deferred and then will be reclaimed by you at a later stage. Goods in free circulation. You can drive anywhere in Europe with that full load or that dedicated express van load. It's pretty much the same for Holland, except in Holland you will need, in addition to a VAT registration, you need a fiscal representation. You'll need a fiscal representative. You clear goods on the ferry from Felixstowe to Rotterdam. On arrival in Rotterdam, the goods would have cleared customs on the ferry. Goods will be in free circulation, and your VAT will have been deferred onto your Dutch VAT account and claimed back, or cost neutral to you. But you will need a Dutch fiscal representative. And a fiscal representative, basically, as it said there, is a special agent, a special type of VAT agent for foreign companies who have registered the VAT in another country. They're just basically making sure they're a guarantee to the Dutch authorities, tax authorities, that that non-resident foreign business will make their VAT return and Intrastat, and that representative is agreeing to be held jointly and severally liable to the Dutch authorities in case that the foreign company doesn't make their VAT and Intrastat returns. So fiscal representation is only needed in Holland, but it does come at a cost. It's not an exorbitant cost, and I'll explain that later. Any thoughts and questions? Seems too much work to set up. No, it's not. We've got a number of companies now that are doing this. we're successfully getting full loads and express loads into Spain, Italy, Portugal, Romania, with no T-forms and clearing on the ferry, Dover-Calais. Not a problem. Don't understand it, that's fine. Give us a call, speak to Jeff, his details will be here later. He'll talk you through it again. We'll put you in contact with our partner, who are the experts in this tax compliance field, and they'll explain any questions you've got, they'll answer. Don't we need to be VAT registered in the EU in every country? No, you don't. If you're selling B2B, you don't. You sell from your French VAT number to your EU supplier. They're VAT registered, reverse charge, no VAT. If you're selling B2C, business to consumer, yeah, if you don't want the consumer to pick up the VAT and duty, then you would need to have a registration in their country. How much time is needed? About 7 to 8 weeks, mostly due to the delays in getting non-resident VAT numbers and the deferment approval through in France, Belgium, and Holland. At 7 to 8 weeks, it should be up and running. We've got a partner who will do this for you. Happy to put you in contact with them. Is it legal? Of course it's legal. It's used a lot at the moment by Far East exporters that want to send goods, DDP, delivered to Europe, say to Germany. Containers are offloaded in Rotterdam or Antwerp. They bear a fiscal representation or a VAT number. They are cleared, are at the point of entry and into free circulation at the port of entry. No T-forms needed to deliver them. What will it cost? Just run to that slide now. I thought I'd look at the cost of this against the cost of T-forms to give a true reflection. So I've looked at 10 full loads or express loads going to Europe per month. We're charging £85 as a minimum charge to issue a T1 because we'll allow up to £5,000 worth of VAT and duty suspended. That VAT and duty isn't paid by the EU importer, that's coming back to us. We are liable for that. That's why we have to charge a reasonable fee. So we are taking a risk. So that's going to cost £850 for 10 a month. That 4 has to be collected and delivered. That's not going to be free. I put a nominal charge of £40 in for that, for the collection and for the delivery. £80 plus 85 is 165 times by 10, 1,650. That's the actual cost. You may not see the collection and delivery charge because it might be included in your freight charge, but it is there. It is there. If you look at clearing those goods with a French VAT number, you do not need a T1. And if you're sending over £35,000 worth of goods a month on average into the EU, that's going to cost you £258 a month, as opposed to 1,650. That's a phenomenal saving, and it's got some really, really big benefits too, apart from the saving. There are some setup costs, obviously, but they're only one-off. You need a French, Dutch, or Belgium VAT number. You'll need a deferment application doing for the country that you're arriving into. And if you haven't got a EU EORI number, you could perhaps get a French one if you're entering in France, or a Dutch one, or a Belgian one. If you've got an EORI number already in the EU, registered anywhere in the EU, you could use that. So your cost will be $678 to set up. There, just looking at annualize those costs. So if you've got 10 loads, as I said before, at £1,650, times that by 12, it's going to cost you roughly £20,000 a year at 10 loads a month for T-form overall costs. And the VAT solution is £3,000. If you're sending 20 loads, it's going to cost you £40,000. The VAT solution will cost you £3,000. That's a French VAT solution, a Belgian VAT solution, or a Dutch VAT solution. And as the number of loads go up, the cost does not go up. And you can see if you're doing at least 2 loads a month, if you're only doing 2 loads a month that need a T-form into Europe, it's cheaper to get a French, Belgium, or Dutch VAT number and use this solution than it is to have a T-form. Plus, there are some major, major benefits. There are some cost savings, and you don't get delays. You haven't got drivers stuck at UK and EU customs offices. You haven't got demurrage charges to worry about. A full load shipment to Europe, which doesn't have a T-form, is an attractive load to a haulier. So trailer availability will be better. You're saving on loads of emails and admin by putting this in place. And we basically have nothing to gain by this, really. We are not doing this. This is a partner that we're doing it with. We have no commission from that partner, but we just think it's a good solution to avoid T-forms. And you'll be able to supply your EU customers, as before, pre-Brexit, on DDP terms, delivered duty, no inconvenience to them. So what do you need to do? Basically, you just need to keep a record of your sales from a UK VAT number to your French VAT number. You need to keep a record of your sales from your French VAT number to your EU customers. And you need to submit your monthly EU sales and import data for your French VAT compliance through an online portal. Basically, it's as simple as uploading a spreadsheet. I've watched the video on it, and it literally is uploading a spreadsheet. Once that data is uploaded, you will get a message to say your VAT return is ready for approval. You log on to the software, you approve the VAT return, you approve the interest return, and you're done. And all that for £278 a month. Conditions, obviously you need to have a registration. I've used this in France, but that could be in Belgium or Holland. You have to keep records of what you're sending out into France, your imports into France. You also mustn't have a bad compliance record already with French customs. They will not let you do this if you have a bad record. And you need to be reasonably financially stable for the last 12 months to apply. So that's basically what you end up with. You end up with your full load and express exports from the UK, dedicated exports from the UK, clearing on the ferry or the tunnel into France, the VAT being deferred during the crossing and reclaiming the VAT on your monthly French VAT return. No cost to you, all cost neutral. And you then supply from your French VAT number no VAT on supply to your Italian importer, your Italian customer, German customer, any customer in any European country. And they have no inconvenience of having to make an import declaration. You will have to make the French import declaration. We have agents in France to do that for you. And you can pass that cost on, should you choose to them. So if you're interested in what you do now, send a short email to Jeff, commercial manager. He will do a fact find with you, make sure that you're suitable for this solution. Most people should be suitable if you're sending at least two or three export dedicated loads into Europe each month. And Jeff will talk you through that and put you in contact with our partner. You can obviously do transit. So if you don't want to look at the VAT solution to get around transit, you can do it yourself. You just need to get a customs comprehensive guarantee. You need to fill out a CC1F form on, just Google that. That's the form you need to fill out. If you are financially stable, you should be able to apply for a 100% waiver on any guarantee that you ask for. That will also allow you to attach a duty and VAT deferment account to that CCG for your imports. You can make transit declarations, T1 declarations yourself then, as long as you have that CCG on the online NCTS system. And also I'd sort of throw that in there, that you can actually make your own export declarations online yourself directly into Chief. Don't need to buy any fancy software. But you need to know how to do these things. You need skills. You can either employ somebody to do it, or you can get a bit more information and training. You can use the grant. There's a grant available now for £2,000 to any business to help them understand customs, maybe employ somebody, get some training done. So that grant is soon to become live, and that's the link to it there. Or you can let us do it, because we have our own CCG. We have access to a £200 million guarantee also through a private transit provider. We can not only do T1s for freight that we're carrying, but we can do it for on shipments that we're not carrying the freight. So on ex-works and FCA shipments from the UK to the EU. Yeah, and we're confident that if we have the right information from you, we can issue a T1, the export declaration, and the really important safety and security declaration, the ENS declaration, the haulier is responsible for, in 20 minutes. Timing issues next between loading and producing invoices. So trade isn't about goods, trade is about data. Goods sit in the warehouse until data moves them. I've used that slide on the last 3 webinars I've done. It's really important. These are the sorts of conversations we've had with numerous customers. We cannot produce an invoice until the trailer is loaded for full loads. Well, I'm sorry, we can't even collect the goods. We can't send a truck in because we need to get permission to proceed from customs to even send that truck in. And if you can't produce that invoice, we shouldn't even be sending the truck in. We've had, okay, we'll just send the truck in and we'll load it, we'll get it to you. Oh, but our finance department close at 5, so we can't get the invoice to you till the next day. It just doesn't work. It doesn't work. We might have to raise a T1 document, or we might have to raise a pre-lodged import declaration to get the driver out of the UK. Those take time to do. The pre-lodged declaration has to be done by a French, Dutch, or Belgian company. They're under pressure too. And the T1 is a longish process. It's not going to get automatically accepted in 10, 20 minutes. It can take up to half a day sometimes to get acceptance. There are a few solutions that we've come up with. We've asked exporters, say if you can't produce it, effectively virtually export that. Create a virtual export area in your warehouse. Put the 26 pallets there you're going to put on the truck. Make sure nobody touches them. Create the commercial invoice for it. Send it to us the day before so we can do the export declaration and start the T1 document. We'll send the driver in the next day and we'll be ahead of the game. Some of them have said we haven't got space in our warehouse to do that. So we've put solutions in place where we'll put stand trailers in outside in the yard, load the goods into there if you haven't got the space, and transship them onto our truck when it arrives. Obviously there's a cost there, but it's a solution. And an even more expensive cost is send them to a third-party warehouse. So they're virtually exported from your warehouse to another local one, and we'll load from there. But at least you can get the commercial invoice done for us before the goods are loaded. The IDR is the import facilitation that the easement that the government put in place for the first 6 months on UK imports. There's been a lot of confusion around the IDR certainly in January. Basically because EU hauliers and logistics companies and EU exporters really have no idea what EIDR is. You know, they think that you need to make a full declaration to enter the EU, to enter the UK. Either a full or an SFD, a simplified frontier declaration. Those are going to be needed on the 1st of July, by the way. So make sure whoever's doing your import declarations now, they know how to do them. It's particularly bad when, like Calais to Dover, it's a non-inventory port, so no vehicles are getting stopped in Dover. But if you're coming into an inventory port, Felixstowe, Harwich, Teesport, Immingham, Killingholme, for example, with an unaccompanied trailer, and that trailer is coded up the wrong way. If it's coded with a Z, for example, it will need a full import entry before a trailer is allowed to go in and pull that trailer out of the port. If you're thinking you're using EIDR, then you won't be able to get that. You can't use EIDR if that's coded Z. What should have happened is the logistics company in the EU should have coded it C, which means it gets automatic release when it gets to the port in the UK. And it doesn't need an import entry to move it. You keep a note of that import on your EIDR sheet. You send it to us or to your customs broker at the end of the month, and they do the supplementary declarations the next month. We're already doing the supplementary declarations now for our EIDR customers for January imports. Postponed VAT accounting, talked about it on the import webinar, again on our Brexit page on our website. Yeah, a little link there to show you how to get access to the postponed import VAT. If you click onto that, it will take you to a little description, and then you can log onto your government gateway. And in the government gateway in your account, you'll see that you'll see the import VAT that's being suspended for you to include on your VAT statement. Again, look at the import webinar I did. There's 2 or 3 pages on PVA on that webinar. Still lots of confusion on Incoterms. You absolutely need to agree with your EU customer or your EU supplier in your terms of sale. In your negotiations, agree the Incoterms. Include them on quotes to them and on quotes to your forwarder, because us as forwarders, we need to know what you want us to do, what declarations you want us to do. And make sure you put them on your commercial invoice. It's absolutely imperative to have your Incoterms on the commercial invoice. EU customs, again, trade is about data. No declaration equals no collection, no delivery. If you're sending exports, DAP, to the EU, your EU importer will need a customs agent in place. If you're collecting goods on FCA terms, coming back to the UK, your EU supplier will need an EU agent to make the export declaration. The problem is that a lot of them can't find an EU agent because they're inundated. The ones that aren't inundated, a lot of those are making basic mistakes with the entries, which are stopping the vehicles in Calais or even stopping the vehicles getting the goods getting collected. But we have a solution. We built a network of EU customs agents, so we provide an end-to-end solution. So if you need goods clearing into Europe or goods clearing to leave Europe, we can provide that solution for you. Rules of origin, Percy Pig. A few will have seen this on the news. I'll come back to Percy in a moment. FTA, PTA, TCA. So FTA, most of you know what that is. That's a free trade agreement. Stands for a free trade agreement, which we have with the EU, or do we? We actually don't have a free trade agreement with the EU. We have a PTA, we have a preferential trade agreement under the TCA, the Trade and Cooperation Agreement. So, yes, from the 1st of January, there'll be zero tariffs and zero quotas on trade between the EU and the UK, as long as you comply with the appropriate rules of origin. And Percy Pig didn't, because Percy Pig is made in Germany and it was shipped to the UK. That's fine. EU origin to the UK is within the agreement, so no duty was payable. That was then shipped to Ireland from the UK. Those goods weren't of UK origin, they were of EU origin still, and that attracted duty. We have a customer who imports showers from China, brings them to the UK and sells them onto the EU. Those goods are of Chinese origin. They do not qualify for the preferential trade agreement under the TCA, and those showers are subject to duty in the EU. So it's really important origin. There's a link, a little bit more of an explanation on origin, and on our Brexit page again, you'll see a one-page document, I think, on origin statements to go on your invoice and on your EU supplier's invoice. Please make sure you include those statements on your invoice. With regards to importing, your EU suppliers should have a REX number, a registered exporter number, if they are supplying goods more than 6,000 euros to you. If they do not have that and do not put their REX number on their invoice to you, and it's over 6,000 euros, you may be subject to duty. So just be really careful. Be stressing to your EU exporters, your EU suppliers, to put their REX number on. Otherwise, you potentially could get duty. But what you can do with that duty, you can make a retrospective claim to HMRC, providing an explanation and suitable proof of origin, and they may look at that for you. They should look at that for you, I should say. But an even cleverer way to do that, if your supplier hasn't got a REX number in the EU, is that bring the goods in under EIDR, bring them in on deferred declarations until they've got their EU REX number, and then get somebody to make those supplementary declarations, and then there won't be any duty to pay at all. Or you can use something called importer's knowledge. This is just a workaround for the REX number. You sort of claim that you believe and have proof to evidence that the EU supplier has that the EU supplier is providing goods to you that are of EU origin. You are supposed to hold documentation to prove that if you are inspected by customs, and that you've made every effort to obtain the supplier declarations. I prefer the route of the REX number to make sure the EU supplier had a REX number on their invoice. If you are inspected by customs and are claiming importer's knowledge for the reason why you're not paying UK duty, that will be dubious. And if you had a bad inspector, he could levy you with a fairly hefty duty if he believed that the goods potentially you couldn't prove were of EU origin. There's an hour-long webinar that was done by the Institute of Export on rules of origin. If that's something that you think you need to inform yourself about. And just talk about the Institute of Export for a moment. They are a very good institution that provide excellent value for money services on anything to do with customs. So, you know, you can get associate membership if you've been in international trade for 3 years, get unlimited email support and some telephone support for £118 a year. It is a complete no-brainer. I would absolutely, we've joined. The link there is the online membership link, or you can give the membership line a ring. It's Christine on that line. It's very helpful. She'll talk you through it. But I'd recommend you, if you have any customs issues at all, that's a good thing to join. This was the slide I popped up on my October exporters webinar about my predictions of what would happen in January. And apart from 10 gridlock on the M20, everything else has sort of come true. We haven't seen the gridlock on the M20 because the gridlock has been at the customs offices inland, basically. The realities of what's happened in January and what effect that's had on trailer availability and rates. Yeah, exports through Dover-Calais have been down massively. A lot of EU hauliers, particularly French ones in northern France, are running the vehicles, and Belgian ones are running the vehicles back empty, because they won't pick up delays. If they're running back empty, they don't need to do any customs. And that is a worry. If we start losing capacity to load our exports on, price will even go up further. You know, lack of supply just increases the demand, and the price goes up. We know there is a severe lack of UK and EU customs agents, little appetite to issue T1s. Had a number of emails in from groupage operators we work with, putting the prices up because now it's taking their staff, as I say later, 3 or 4 times longer to manage each shipment. And time is money, unfortunately. So prices have inevitably gone up. And even with full loads, sometimes now it's not even about the price. It's about the ability to source a vehicle at the right time and to navigate those borders with the right customs documents to avoid the waiting time, which can be really, really expensive. And finally, I'm now seeing a standard EU hauliers quoting us for shipments and quoting demurrage charges straight away. I saw them at the start of January about €350 a day, and now I'm seeing them at €500 a day, because they are fed up of the delays that they are incurring at Dover and Calais. I was so annoyed about the situation, I actually wrote to Mr. Gove, Mr. Johnson and Mr. Chaps about with a solution to what I thought they could do to alleviate the problems with T1s, not this fiscal representation French VAT solution, a different solution to make CCGs, custom comprehensive guarantees, more available and speed and get them quicker to people that want them. But unfortunately, I didn't get an answer. But what do I know? I've only been in the business 30 years. They obviously know better. And that just made me laugh. Quote there from Michael Gove. So Brexit negotiator David Frost said relations with the EU have been rather bumpy. Michael Gove likened it to the early turbulence on a flight, and we're yet to reach the cruising altitude when the crew start serving drinks and snacks. We're not at the gin and tonic peanut stage yet, he said, flippantly. He's not sitting where I'm sitting and where our customers are sitting and seeing the problems that we are. And it really did annoy me that I wasn't expecting an answer back from him, but someone in his department I thought could have acknowledged my letter. So very disappointing. There are alternatives to driver accompanied through Dover-Calais. I talked about 4. Intermodal is a really good alternative. It's relatively cheap for the long distances into the Europe. It'll take a couple of days extra. It doesn't suit time-sensitive deliveries. Unaccompanied is a good solution. Keep goods away from Dover-Calais. And if your goods can go into a 40-foot container, then short sea container shipping is proving very attractive at the moment. Another alternative, maybe set up a European distribution hub. I've had a customer do this already. So instead of sending all their shipments from the UK, let's say 11 3-pallet shipments requiring 11 export declarations and 11 EU import declarations, they send a full load every week or so into Belgium, £500 from the Midlands into Belgium, and make 1 export declaration and 1 import declaration. Those goods then sit in a Belgian warehouse in free circulation and can be delivered onto all their EU customers. And we have solutions in place to pick up goods from Belgium and deliver all over Europe from one pallet up to a full load. It's cost effective. I mean, pallet storage rates in Belgium, for example, about £1 a pallet a week. It's not exorbitant. You can either achieve a speedier turnaround time for deliveries. It's an efficient way of doing it, and it's more customer friendly because you have DDP solution in place for your customers. If you're interested in more information on things or customs, Brexit customs, I wrote this Brexit survival guide last year, sent 300 out. We don't have any more physical copies of that, but there is a downloadable version on the Brexit page of our website. Special bonus I talked about at the start. Basically, during the first lockdown, I decided to write a book. I wrote a book which would help people with their shipping to reduce cost and get better value for money for their freight spend. That's basically what I've done over the years. Is I've worked with our biggest customers to reduce their costs and to make sure they get the best value for money from their spend. And I came up with 40 strategies, and I put them into a book, and I called it Freight Utopia. So there's 20 strategies to reduce cost and 20 strategies to get better value for money. It's selling on Waterstones for $9.99, but I'm more than happy to send any logistics or supply chain managers a copy of the book for free. If you just let me know whether you're working from home or in your office, drop me an email. My email address will be coming up later, and I'll get that book to you free of charge. Okay, finally, we have a customs agency within the business. You can join it for just under £2 a day. There's the link and to join, and the benefits are on there too. But the main benefits are that we will discount your export, import, and T1 declarations. We have a couple of customers that are saving £1,000 a month with us on export declarations alone because they've joined our consortium. Give you access to our online portal to view all your customs documents. We'll include you on our authorised consignor status. So if we're issuing T forms for you, we can send you the T form and start transit at your premises, as opposed to starting it at a government site where there are delays. And we'll give you access to our network of EU agents if your customers or suppliers in the EU are struggling to do declarations. So that's it really. So if you want to speak to us about the T1 solution with VAT registration in the EU, or any customs queries, or you want to join our consortium, Jeff is your man. If you want to speak to us about booking some business with us, UK freight, European freight, or Sea&Air freight, Kelly is your lady. And if you want to give me some feedback on the webinar, or you want to suggest some future webinar topics, drop me an email. There's the address if you want a copy of my book. And the next webinar should be sometime in April. Going to be focused quite a bit on imports because the rules are changing massively on the 1st of July. So that's the end of today's webinar. Thank you for attending, and I look forward to seeing you at the next webinar in April. Thanks. Goodbye.